Hello there, namaste. So I just watched the movie Maharaj, and I gotta say, this movie was actually very well done. So I have an issue when things kind of get taken advantage of, women get taken advantage of, things like that really bother me, really aggravate me. But the way this film did it, did it well. Actually, that sounds bad, but you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. This movie is basically about cultists. It's a history piece, which is a part of history that happened. Someone took advantage. It had happened for about 100 some odd years where they did this divine service, and it was just something that was bled into the culture, bled into society, and everyone just accepted it even though it was outright wrong. And immediately, as soon as I realized it was a cult, I could understand. I was like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was, because even now, I mean, heck, there are cults here in the US that the people, the women that were victimized, still go and visit the priest or the leader or whatever term they use, because they're still in that mindset. They still visit the one who did the acts, the one who did the criminal deeds. So this film starts off with basically a kid who's born Kashan Das, and they put an emphasis on the word Das because I guess that means to serve, to basically be a part of, to help out, and they kept referencing the fact that, oh, he's just there to serve the gods, he's there to serve the priests. So they reference that, and it's like one of those things. But he grows up questioning, why do we do this? Why is there this tradition? Why do we do this? And I'm someone who believes you should question. If you're not questioning, and the priest says it himself, it's like, if you can't question, there's an issue. There must be questioning in your own faith. There has to be. You have to have questions. If people start demeaning you, saying that the fact that you're bringing these questions forth means you don't believe, there's an issue, and look out. But he starts questioning, and then it skips like 5 minutes in, skips like 20 years, and he's an adult. He's engaged to a woman who's heavily in the belief, like absolutely heavily in the belief, like everyone else in that area, because he moved away after his mother died to live with his aunt and father and his father's new bride. That's what happened, and it turns out that he's now a part of this group, this belief that believes like divine service, which only women can perform, where the priest basically selects a woman, takes them to a room, and does literally, it's just absolutely barbaric. But the problem is, when you get into the mindset of a cultist, everything makes sense, because the fact that people could pay to watch the divine service as if it's a blessing to observe, it was just absolutely barbaric. And he realizes what the divine service is, breaks in, tries to bring his fiancée out, and she basically says no. She says no, and she stays with the priest. And then he cuts off the engagement. After that, he cuts off the engagement. So she returns to the priest, and the priest says, oh, you'll be my favorite. And then the priest, the very next day, or later that day, goes to his new favorites, the once engaged woman's sister, and says the exact same thing. Oh, you will be my favorite. And that is the moment she realizes that everything her fiancé was telling her was true. Everything. The fact that he's just using them. The fact that it's just... It was very well done. But it was aggravating. It was absolutely aggravating, because I didn't want her to get back with him. I didn't like the fact that, because she wrote a letter after the fact that, oh, I've realized the error of my ways, I'm sorry, you'll never be able to see me this way. But the last time she saw him, she still believed she had done nothing wrong, because she never went back to see him after she found out everything he was saying was true. And one thing I gotta point out is, Kashan Das, they pointed out that he's like this revolutionary thinker. He thinks differently, that the unclean and themselves are the same. And they have this scene where he goes up to one of the unclean and is like, oh, can I have some food? I'm gonna end up having to wait in line to get some food. I don't wanna wait in line. And in my mind, I'm seeing him rob someone who is less privileged than him in that society. He takes food from him, who has to work 3 times as hard to make the same kind of income, and he takes food from him, and they're trying to make that out to be a good thing. I was like, look, he believes so differently that he's willing to steal food from someone who can't afford it. That's what I saw. That's what I saw, because I'm going at it from a different perspective. If they would have had him like drop a coin or something, completely different. But no, he literally grabbed food from that guy's leaf because there was too much of a line and he didn't want to pay for food. So that's what I saw. That was the only negative, and I complained about that for a good minute before it continued. But he basically starts to write articles against the priest. He starts to fight for like, what is tradition? Why is it they're only focusing on this verse here instead of the entirety of the verse? And it turns into a courtroom drama at the last 30 minutes, which I did enjoy, but I loved the back and forth between the competition between the journalist and the priest, because the priest is an absolutely unlikable character. Like, immediately. Like, it's done in a way to where he has, and that's the thing with cults. People on the outside looking at it can see it a mile away. They can tell that there's a problem there. So for me, seeing it and being like, yeah, I would never trust a guy like that, is acceptable. Like, I was watching it with my fiance, and I told her, it's just like, I could never be at a place like this. I would be killed by the crowd because I would not be able to keep my mouth shut. I would not. I just have one of those things where I just can't when it's so obviously wrong. But it was just like, I liked how it was done, because yeah, it looks wrong, absolutely wrong. But if you grow up in that environment, it's just something you do because it's tradition. This divine service is tradition. And like, it turned out to where the man Kasandas's aunt was also a part to the divine service. She also had to go through it. She's been a widow for like 20 some odd years because nobody wants her. She's been married once before, and nobody wants to remarry a once married woman. And those kind of thoughts, the fact that he fought for like revolutionary thinking. Why are we seeing her as no longer really worth anything because she was married once? It's just, yet men can be remarried, because his father, after his mother died, got remarried. Why couldn't his aunt? Because the whole different dynamics, especially at that point in time. Sure, there are some places where it's still an issue, but at that point in time, it was a real issue, an absolute issue, especially for women. But what I like is that this movie isn't so much about this event that happened there. It's basically a piece about cultists. Because no matter what, that same thing happens in every cult around the world. Every religion that uses a belief to either spread hate or spread their own perverted ideologies, or it happens with religion, it happens with political beliefs, it happens with ideology, like the whole thing that's happening in the US with like things become perverse over time. Their movements completely change. It happened with the BLM movement, which the whole thing turned out to be a scam from the people at the top, just taking money. It's things start off with good deeds. I'm pretty sure at the very core, when the thing was founded, the sect was founded, there were great reasons for it. There were, well, not so much the divine service, but power. Probably it started off with one woman asking it because she was so brainwashed. She craved it. And of course, the men being men and succumbing to greed and lust, accepted and called it a divine service. And from then on, it got worse and worse and worse to the point where it was just seen as a part of tradition. That's the issue with cults. And that's why I always like to question tradition. I was like, why is this thing done? What is the purpose for this? When does a tradition end up turning into a superstition at some point in time? Like the whole can't see your bride before the wedding thing. I mean, it's a nice custom. It's enjoyable because you get to see your beautiful bride the day of. Yeah, but I think my fiance is beautiful no matter what. I don't know what the day of the wedding is gonna do with anything, but still, it's one of those things. She still wants to surprise me, so I'm like, sure. But it's one of those things that became a superstition. It used to be a tradition because you didn't know who your bride was till the day you married them. But yeah, you always need to question things, always need to go at it that way. And this movie was very well done. They introduced another love interest who happened to turn out to be, honestly, better than the one who cheated on her fiance with the priest and ended up taking her own life. Sure, that was a good driving factor for him, but in the end, I enjoyed the second one. She was a more fierce character. She knew what she wanted and she was willing to do anything to get it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a strong female character for you. Yeah, but this movie, I do enjoy it. Not so much for the fact that it's a piece of history, but the fact that you could see it and be like, yeah, this has happened everywhere around the world. Cults are just terrible. Not so much the beliefs that they utilize to take advantage, it's the fact that it's humans who always end up, you know, taking advantage. Oh, thank you all for watching. This movie's definitely worth a watch. Don't try to look at it as if this is bad, this religion's bad. No, look at it and go like, this thing has happened in every single belief in the world. No matter what the belief is, this thing has happened to it. And it's still happening now in some places. And in every belief, too. Just because it happened at this point in time doesn't mean it stopped. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.